Thank you for stopping by Ballistic BBQ. On today's video, I'm going to be smoking up a full pack of brisket and 2 racks of beef back ribs on my offset vertical. Let's get going. And here's that brisket, certified Angus, and before I trimmed it, it weighed in at a little over 16 pounds. I didn't go real aggressive on it. I took down some of the fat cap to about 1/4 of an inch, took out some of the fat right here between the point and the flat just to kind of make it lay down a little bit more even, I guess. Cleaned up the edges and removed that silver skin. First thing we're going to start with is an injection, so let me get this out of the way. I'm using a very simple injection on this. Right here I have 1 cup of unsalted beef broth, and to that I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of Maggi seasoning. There it is right there, some pretty magic stuff. 1 tablespoon of Red Rooster hot sauce, use whatever you want. Just give that a mix. All right, I'm going to set this off to the side and I'm going to show you what we're using as a rub. So I wanted to do something a little different with this brisket. I am going to use a coffee cocoa rub on this brisket because coffee and cocoa both go very, very well with beef. Brisket's very rich, it's gonna rock. First thing we're going to do is start it off with just a rub, and I'm using Harry Sue's Slap Yo Daddy's beef rub. This is Moolah beef rub, good stuff. This is 1 cup. I have here 1/4 cup of ground coffee and 1/4 cup of unsweetened cocoa, and this is 100% cocoa. Get that mixed up. All right, looks good. Let's get that brisket ready. All right, we're gonna kick this off with the injection, going fat cap down. And I'm just going to inject this every, I don't know, couple inches, I guess. All right, there we are. We're ready to apply that rub now. Okay, I'm going to be cooking this fat cap up in my pit, so I'm starting off with the rub, fat cap down. And I want to get a nice, generous application of the rub here. And that is looking pretty good. I'm going to allow this to kind of sweat through a little bit. I'll flip it and do the other side. So as you can see, the meat sweated through this rub. It looks pretty tacky now. Let's go ahead and get this flipped. Make sure I get some of the rub between the flat and the point here. All right, that looks great. Now on this video, as I mentioned earlier, I am also going to be cooking up 2 racks of beef back ribs. And obviously they're hitting the pit probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours after the brisket. So just for logistics reasons, I'm not going to show the prepping of those ribs. Basically all I'm doing is peeling the membrane off and hitting them with an all-purpose rub though. You'll see them outside. So right now I've got that Lone Star Grillz offset vertical rocking, 250 degrees outside. I'll meet you out at the backyard. My pit is running at 250 degrees. I'm burning pecan wood, and based on some of the requests I got when I shot this is my new pit video, people wanted to see me use water with this thing. So we're using water. I basically added water when I was preheating it this morning, and I'll show you how I did that, and we're going to mix it up just a little bit. So basically to add water or any liquid to this, pull out this bottom tray. Down here you can see the tuning plates, and I just basically put my garden hose between the tuning plates and added the water. And I added enough water to where it was just an inch below the opening from the firebox into the cooking chamber here. Now we're going to mix this up a little bit. I have here 2 pints of a nice dark porter. This is room temperature. We're adding it to the water. Now what I have here is 1/4 cup of pickling spice, and basically this is coriander, mustard seed, it's allspice, pepper, cloves, bay leaves. It's got a lot of cool stuff in here, and I'm going to add it in here just for some aromatics. Get that grate back in. Let's get that brisket on. So again, I'm going fat cap up. I'm cooking it on the rack above the bottom rack for no particular reason. I'm honestly just trying to learn this pit right now. So let's get that in there. So the biggest request I had was to rock a brisket in this thing, unwrapped, and that's exactly what I'm doing. People wanted to see me using this as a water smoker. That's what I'm doing. Now my plan, however, is probably 2 or 3 hours prior to the end of the cook, I'm going to drain all the liquid from this so I can get that bark to set up a little bit. And again, in about 4 hours, I'm going to be putting those ribs on. So I'll see you then. All right, we're at 4 hours and it's time to put those ribs on. First of all, let's check out the brisket. It's looking good. It's definitely a lot of moisture in this pit. Pretty good. All right, let's get these. So there's our ribs. Pretty good looking beef ribs. All right, so we're just gonna keep chugging along. Again, I've decided that on this particular cook, I'm not going to wrap it. As far as those ribs are concerned, when they're done, they're done. So far, I've been really impressed with the way this pit is handling. I mean, it's very easy to maintain the heat. It's been very stable. I did have to add a little bit more water about an hour ago or so. But other than that, it's been pretty much a maintenance-free cook. I mean, added a couple pieces of wood here and there, but it's been great. Okay, we just hit that 7-hour mark. Cook's going great. At this point, we're going to transition from a wet smoker to the dry smoker. But first, let me go ahead and show you the brisket and the ribs. It's looking really good. See, this is looking great. I want to start tightening it up now, the bark here. You can see, I mean, this is pretty wet right here. The ribs. Look at that. Beautiful. Gorgeous color. All right. Okay. You get the picture. I'm going to go ahead and dump this little bucket. Actually, I'm going to follow suit as far as what Russ Jones did over at Smoky Ribs. He put a 45 and then a downspout so he could, fit a bigger bucket off to the side, which is what I have intended to do, but I haven't purchased the pipes yet. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get this all drained, and I'll see you as we near the very end of this cook. Okay, those ribs have been on now a little over 4 hours, and they are actually getting pretty darn tender. So we're going to move on to the next step there. Show you. You see they're probing really tender. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these off the cooker. Gorgeous. I've said in other videos, we like a little barbecue sauce on our beef ribs, so I'm going to apply it's more of a savory sauce. It's not like a real sweet like you'd put on pork. These are beautiful ribs, wow. And I'm just going with a light glaze here, just not a whole bunch of sauce, but just enough to where it just adds another layer of flavor. All right, and the cook goes on. See you guys in a bit. It's been about 45 minutes since I glazed those ribs, and they are done. Tender as all get out. Let's check this out. It's like falling in by itself. This is awesome. All right, let's pull these off. So the next step on the ribs is going to be simply wrapping them, putting them in a cooler. Still have a ways to go for the brisket. See you guys in a bit. All right, this turned into quite the old school cook. Finally gave up the ghost. It's nice and probe tender now. And for those of you who are curious, it probed out at 202 degrees Fahrenheit. So let's check it out. What a nice bark. It's like Jell-O. So I'm going to pull it now, wrap it in foil, drop it in a cooler for about 2 hours, and then meet you guys inside and we'll slice it up for a very late brisket. And here we are, all rested, ready to try, along with one of those racks of ribs. The other ones we already ate. So let's go ahead and try this brisket first. Go ahead and slice this point off. Try some of this point first. First of all, I mean, nice smoke ring, very, very juicy. You can see the juice in there, wow. Is that flat? Again, very nice smoke ring. Pulls good. I'll be honest with you, I don't think that having that beer in the water really helped, but it smelled good while I was cooking, so who knows, maybe it did something. Let's try one of these ribs. The other rack, we already had that for dinner, believe it. Well, look at that. And I already know, again, this was my dinner while I was waiting for this brisket to finish up. So this really turned out good. See the nice ring on there. I love beef ribs. And I know the big dogs are the short ribs, but there's just something about a really good rack of beef back ribs that I love. Let's try out a beer. All right, so this beer comes from a buddy of mine who's one of my neighbors actually, and a home brew master, and I don't want to get anything wrong here. He's actually won awards. Wow, I mean, the minute I pop the cap, smells delicious. Okay, so this is tequila and oak aged. It's a stock ale brewed with agave nectar. It's got a 9% ABV, and it's been aged for 2 years, so very cool that he actually gave me a bottle of this 2-year-old beer here that's been aged. There you go. It's a pretty beer. Just, you can smell that agave actually. It's got a really nice kind of just a very fresh smell. Wow, Nick, home run. If you like really good tequila, I mean, like I'm talking sipping tequila, you would like this because you get it on the back note. And I'm a big tequila fan. This is really good. Good job. Anyway, the Lone Star Grillz vertical offset knocked it out of the park. The brisket turned out great. Again, it was an old school cook. Next time I'll be wrapping probably, or probably maybe cooking at a higher temp. The ribs, rocking. The beer, killer. It was a good night. Anyway, guys, thanks for stopping by. I'll see you on the next video. Keep those requests coming in. Cheers.